Hello, I'm Linda Kincaid, live from Atlanta. Welcome to Connect the World. Coming up this hour, the world's #1 golfer, Scottie Scheffler, has been arrested outside the PGA Championship in Kentucky. Russia makes inroads near Ukraine's second biggest city. CNN is on the ground as civilians try to escape to safety. Desperately needed humanitarian aid is being delivered today through this floating pier built by the U.S. military. We'll be live in Jerusalem for the details. And Houston, we have a problem. Hurricane-force winds and torrential rains hitting the state of Texas. Well, the stock market in New York will open in about 30 minutes from now, and by the look of what we've seen so far, it will be mixed. It follows, of course, Thursday's excitement when the Dow briefly topped 40,000 for the first time. Well, we have some dramatic new details about the world #1 golfer as things are developing rapidly in Louisville, Kentucky. Scottie Scheffler was booked into jail and is now facing 4 charges, including second-degree assault on a police officer, which is a felony. We have video of the arrest from an ESPN reporter who was on the scene. You can see there he is handcuffed after trying to drive past a police officer into the Valhalla Golf Club before the start of the second round of the PGA Championship. Well, CNN's Carolyn MANNO is following the developments and joins us now. So this is just incredible, this story. This world #1 golfer, Scottie Scheffler, dragged away in handcuffs and now facing some pretty serious charges.
The felony charge is shocking, and to be honest with you, when you think about the top-ranked golfer in the world, Scottie Scheffler, this is so jarring when you consider who he is. I mean, he is so clean-cut. He's squeaky clean. He can't be rattled. I mean, he almost is the subject of some fodder around the fact that he is just so even-keeled. So to be detained by police like that this morning, you saw ESPN's reporter Jeff Darlington there, who was on the scene, and what Darlington suggests is that Scheffler had attempted to drive past a police officer this morning trying to get into Valhalla Golf Club, and that he didn't really stop. An officer attached himself to the vehicle, and then he went an extra 10 yards or so, according to Darlington. When he did finally stop, he exited the vehicle, and according to Jeff, the police officer shoved him against the car immediately placed him into handcuffs, and you see him cooperating with officers there, walking with officers, ultimately being detained. For context, which is important, there was a separate incident this morning that caused PGA Championship organizers to delay the start of the second round. There was an accident that occurred in the early morning hours near the course where a man was killed after being hit by a shuttle bus near Valhalla Golf Club. So that incident impacted traffic, and it's likely to think that that increased police presence, those traffic issues, ultimately affected Scheffler's ability to get where he was going, even though he was not directly involved in that incident. The public shuttles to the course have resumed play. Play was set to resume just after 8:30 this morning. There is also a lot of weather in the area, significant rain that could impact that delay further. So that would be a more traditional weather delay that we normally see at these kinds of events. But Scheffler's original tee time scheduled for 8:48. That was moved to just after 10 a.m. And we now know, we just learned that he has been released on his own recognizance, but facing those 4 charges following his arrest, the Jefferson County court record showing that second-degree assault on a police officer, that felony, along with the lesser charges of third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, disregarding signals from officers directing traffic. Those are a really significant bundle of charges for the top-ranked golfer in the world. We've reached out to representatives for Scheffler, a spokesperson for the PGA of America telling CNN that it's an ongoing situation and they're going to update us. But just a shocking series of events this morning.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, we are, as you say, hearing that he has been released. Do we know at this point in time whether he will be able to continue to play at all today?
Well, you know, I think, honestly, we don't know for sure. I guess I should say that. I think it would ultimately be up to him. I mean, there is a world in which, in theory, he could get to the course and tee off with this later time that's set for a little over an hour from now. I don't know whether or not he'll be in the right frame of mind to do that. And I don't know whether the PGA organizers of this event, the larger PGA entity that oversees all things relating to the tour, you know, how involved they're going to be in terms of making sure that he's in the best place physically and mentally. It does seem, the reporting seems to indicate that this did get a little bit physical at some point. So you have to keep that in mind as well. I mean, you're talking about the top ranked golfer in the world. So we'll wait to see, and we'll probably have those answers sooner rather than later in terms of what he's going to do next.
All right, CAROLYN, MANNO, we will stay in touch with you throughout the morning. Thanks so much for joining us. We are going to stay on this story right now. David Dusek, senior writer for GOLFWEEK, joins us now on the phone. David, good to have you with us. What a shock, really, to wake up to this news. Scottie Scheffler, world #1 golfer, arrested in handcuffs and facing 4 serious charges.
If there's a single golfer who I can't think of anybody I'm more stunned by having something like this happen to, as the previous person explained. Scottie Scheffler is one of the most squeaky clean, upright, outstanding, well-respected players out here on the PGA Tour. He is someone who is known for having a very calm, level head on the golf course, and he keeps that when he's off the golf course as well. He's great with a joke. He's good with smiles. He's fantastic with the fans. So to hear that this is something that took place is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and you can only imagine the sort of conversations that went down with police. He's trying to get into, obviously, the golf course. He was due to tee off about an hour ago, now at 10 o'clock. And, of course, he is the favorite to win, right?
No, absolutely. And one of the things that many people may not understand is that if a golfer, for example, is scheduled to tee off and start play at 9 o'clock, they will generally get to the golf course and go through a very set up routine about 3 hours ahead of time. Scottie and everybody else would have eaten some breakfast, gone through a physio trainer workout, gotten a stretch, hit some practice balls, maybe then relaxed a little bit, try and get in the right competitive mindset, and then go out, warm up again in some cases. There's a whole routine. And that would have been the reason why Scottie Scheffler was coming to Valhalla Golf Club and in his car at that hour. And I can tell you from going back and forth from the media hotel to here at the golf course, there are lots of lanes, of cones and redirections, and in some cases confusing sort of situations when you're out there in shuttle buses and in cars and such like that. And I just presume that Scheffler misunderstood the directions, didn't hear the directions and such like that. But it's a very, very odd situation when you consider that he is, as you say, one of the players that we thought would probably win this golf tournament coming into this week. He won the Masters last month. He is easily the best player in the world. Like, he is the clear #1. And so this is a very, very strange thing. And the mood around here at the golf course is very odd. It's quiet. It's not somber, but it is definitely put a change in the mood and the setting here at Valhalla Golf Club.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, as you were pointing out, he's had a huge professional year, but also a very some personal celebration. Earlier this month, he and his wife welcomed a baby boy, right?
That's correct. That happened just a few days ago, as a matter of fact. He was playing at the Masters and he's played at other events recently with a phone that he said that if he got the call that his wife went into labor, he was prepared to leave Augusta National, leave any other venues right in the middle of the tournament to be there for the birth of their first child. So it has been a very big, very emotional month for Scottie and for his family. And this is something, again, that just sort of adds more to the fact that we did not see anything like this coming, certainly coming from a person like Scottie Scheffler.
And do you know, David, if he was traveling with anyone? Because we do know that traffic was banking up outside that golf course because of an accident involving a shuttle bus around 5 a.m. ET. Do you know if anyone was in the car with Scottie Scheffler?
I do not know. I was thankfully in my bed getting ready to awaken at 5:30 to get over here to the golf course. I wasn't there, and it would be inappropriate for me to speculate about anything at this time.
Yeah, fair enough. So what are the next steps? I mean, obviously, he'll have lawyers trying to fight to get these charges dismissed, and no doubt the golfing community will be rallying around him right now.
I would imagine that would be the case. I mean, as far as today goes, Scheffler has his tee time, as it was early sort of stated on this interview, that he's going to be teeing off in a group at around 10 o'clock. Now, whether he makes it to here or not, whether he chooses to play or not, we'll have to sort of see exactly how that's going to go. If he does want to play, he has to be able to make sure that he is on the tee and is able to play within 5 minutes of the official start of his time. If you're more than 5 minutes late, you're generally going to be defaulted from the tournament. Now, there is an exceptional clause that the PGA of America could put into place, but I would imagine that there's already been communication between Scottie Scheffler or his representation and the PGA of America to let them know what his intentions are. That has not been shared with us at this point. But I would imagine that if Scottie wanted to play, he would be able to get here. But I think it would be very understandable if he chose to pull out, withdraw from this event, and get everything sort of squared away outside the ropes, as they say, before he attempted to continue to play.
Right. So he either has to be on the course in 45 minutes or potentially he'll pull out and head home to his baby boy and his wife as he fights these charges. David Dusek, senior writer at GOLFWEEK, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.